Welcome to a Sunday afternoon live stream on Crime Time with DutyRon. Guys and girls, you know the drill. I'm a retired New York City police detective, and if you like all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective, consider hitting the subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you'll get all things DutyRon and Ed Wallace when we go live or upload another video. And on this Sunday, either morning, afternoon, or evening, in some places it may be even Monday. Where Ed Wallace is, it's Monday in India. So I just wanted to talk with you guys quickly about the planned in the future demolition of 1122 King Road. That's the crime scene at the University of Idaho students off-campus murders. They're planning to demolition that structure. And I wanted to get your thoughts on this, because this isn't just about Ed Wallace and I speaking to you about crime scene and education of what goes on behind the scenes in investigations. This is about us. It's about us as a community talking about this. But before we get into it, I want to say a special thank you to you, the Patreon supporters, the channel members, the folks who subscribe and moderate and watch the replays. Heck, without all of you folks, you great human beings out there, you guys are part of this community. Without you guys, this is we'd have nothing. So I want to say thank you, and thank you for Cleta, for newbie, for the super sticker. Thank you so much for supporting. I want to say hello to a couple of folks right off the bat that are in the chat talking, like Robin Roach and Polka Dot Suzanne, and a couple of other really good people that are here in the community. We appreciate each and every one of you. Kim Alliston from the UK, Agati, thank you. Judy Ahmed for being here. Pauline Buckles, heck, the list just goes on and on. Iris Hewlett, she's always chiming in. Hey, I want to find out from you guys what's your thoughts and feelings on this, because I have a few of my own. And it comes from a justice standpoint. I'll get into that with you in a little bit, but towards the middle and the end of this interactive live stream, I'm going to invite you, the audience, to come up. You could do it by audio or video or both. And I'd like you guys to come up and give me and Ed what your thoughts are of 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, being demolished. It's going to be demolitioned and turned into a memorial park. The plans are still in the infancy stages, and the University of Idaho, it was donated by the owners. I thought it was a noble thing for the owners to do that, but we're going to get into a conversation right after this. But let's listen to what our good friends over at Rush Hour had to say about it.
We have an update about the scene of a brutal quadruple murder. The house where 4 University of Idaho students were found murdered will be torn down. And the news coming more than 3 months after that crime rocked the small community of Moscow. Correspondent Nancy Liu joins us live. Nancy, the homeowner gave that property to the school.
That's right, Nicole. And in the wake of the quadruple murders, that 3-story house just off the Idaho campus is familiar to people all over the country. But soon that home will be demolished. The school telling News Nation it will happen before the end of this semester. The 6-bedroom rental on King Road is already boarded up and surrounded by a chain-link fence. Along with word that the owner has donated the structure to the University of Idaho, the school has announced plans to tear it down in the next few weeks. In a statement, the U of I president notes that this is a healing step and removes the physical structure where the crime that shook our community was committed. Demolition also removes efforts to further sensationalize the crime scene. We're evaluating options where students may be involved in the future development of the property.
Is this your car?
It's been nearly 2 months since the arrest of Brian Koberger, a graduate student at nearby Washington State who is now awaiting trial on 4 counts of first-degree murder. Ethan Chapin, Maddie Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Kaylee Gonsalves were found stabbed to death on November 13th. As the investigation took shape, the murder scene remained under guard for months. At one point, the tragic sight of police removing the personal items of the victims.
Can you tell us what you were looking for?
At others, News Nation on the scene exclusively as investigators work the case. Also there later, as preparation for a remediation process was halted by a court to allow access by Koberger's defense team. But now the home has been cleared, and indeed it has been an attraction among the curious. The U of I has also announced plans for 4 new scholarships, as well as a future healing garden and memorial to honor the 4 victims. Nicole?
Yeah, that community trying to heal. Thank you.
So I wanted to get your thoughts. They're talking about in a couple of weeks demolishing that property. From a criminal justice standpoint, and from somebody in the law enforcement field like myself for 2 decades, I look at, they have the Faro 3D laser scanner that they used. Might not have necessarily been the Faro brand, but Ed Wallace and I have covered this case extensively from a crime scene unit detective specific point of view. And the Idaho State Crime Lab had technology there where they could do this 3D laser scanning. If they have the 3D laser scanning of the actual crime scene with, and again, if you suffer from PTSD, some of the conversation here may be triggering to you. So again, I'm going to put a little disclaimer. What I'm about to talk about might be a little bit sensitive and triggering to some folks. But as far as the 3D laser scanners, if it was used and the crime scene photos are also from the traditional standpoint, where you're taking high resolution crime scene photos of these victims in their state where they were found and discovered at the crime scene, you'll not only have high resolution pictures to show to the jurors, but you'll also have that 3D laser scanner fly through where the jury can actually be in that location with VR goggles and actually see the victims exactly where they were in each of the different locations in that crime scene. So if that technology is available and the defense and the prosecution agree to it, this building will be demolished, and demolition, they said, in weeks at the end of the semester, which is talking about weeks. So again, I'm going to go to the chat because everybody in the chat is chiming in. I see Kansas Girl says, I'll highlight this comment. I would love to see the university turn the lot into a green space anchored with 4 evergreen trees. But also there's folks that are saying that they should not take this structure, this dwelling down until after the trial. Charles Lane says they should wait until after the trial. Again, we don't know the exact technology and the exactly what they have. We know that there's high resolution photos and videos that were taken by the Idaho Crime Lab. They were on the scene for multiple days, many days, and I'm sure that they do have a presentation that they could put forward for a jury. And I would say to you this is that the judicial system, including the prosecutor and the judge and the defense, they're involved in the decision as well, because we know that when there was crime scene cleanup crew on that Friday when Brian Kohlberger was arrested, we saw how they halted the crime scene cleanup crew. And I never seen the crime scene cleanup crew actually come back to that location. They may have, but I never saw it on video at all. So let me see. Hold on a second. I want to just pull up another piece that I had planned to show you guys. Give me 2 seconds. Hold on. All right, there we go. Let me get into the super chat. Sophia S sends in a $5 super chat, not a super sticker, signing in from Birmingham, United Kingdom. Their right to tear it down will stop all of the social media ghouls that have gathered there. Okay, so that is another part of this. And thank you for that super chat, Sophia. You're right. People from TikTok, it's been alleged and it's been reported that some folks from TikTok and other social media outlets are doing dances and filming out in front of this crime scene. I'm going to play again. It's a pretty long piece, but I think it's important that everybody sees some of the jagaloonism that's going on behind the scenes here. It does a disservice to, and it's disgraceful, and it should be highly frowned upon. People shouldn't even be looking at those videos. But unfortunately, social media and human nature loves to flock to drama and things that are wrong. I find it odd and off-putting is that the wrong things, the really jagaloonish behavior, the really horrible, horrid behavior gets the most attention. And that to me is troubling, because I kind of choose when I see stuff like that I click off of it. I don't even watch it. But unfortunately, these people that do these crazy, stupid, disgusting, disrespectful things, they get hundreds of millions of people watching it. And that's troubling in itself. But let's play this little piece from Newsnation.
From the community, not only the neighbors who live nearby, but also students, who go there. What are their thoughts that this home will eventually be demolished? So I want to play some of that for you now. This is what they said when they were asked about the demolition.
I heard this morning that they're going to demolish the house. I think that it's a step in the right direction. We're going to get some closure on this. Every single time I drive by that, I think about it, I look at it. If it was gone and something else was there, that would be great.
As a student, having to move frequently around campus to be able to go to school, knowing that I lived in a place where people were so brutally murdered would not feel comfortable to me.
I think tearing down the house could be a good thing. And for a memorial, I think it'd be good to put it here on campus in one of the parks.
I don't think it needs to be torn down. However, if it is torn down, I believe the memorial should go in its place.
So this is all people from the community. I think this is some of the best input, because people that have gone to the University of Idaho and the business owners and residents are chiming in here. So I think this is interesting. And thank you for becoming a member. Joseph Eastman, thank you for becoming a new channel member. And Barbara, thank you for the $2 super chat. And she says, with her great little parrot in the background in that picture, in memory of the Idaho 4. Amen. Amen to that. Thank you. Thank you so much, Barbara. Appreciate that.
I think the house,
I don't think it needs to be torn down. However, if it is torn down, I believe the memorial should go in its place.
I don't think anyone for one would want to live in that house, but also out of respect to the people that were killed, I think it's a good action to take, just to take it down and maybe make it to some sort of memorial or some place where people can go and learn about what happened.
So there were a lot of people who wanted to say their piece, but not on camera. And let me give you some of that reporting as well. 3 of the neighbors who actually live right around the house said that they think it's just a horrible place. They don't want to look at that horrible place anymore, quote, that horrible place anymore. And so they support that the house is going to be torn down. And a couple of other neighbors, 2 men who actually share or adjacent in the backyard with the home, they didn't want to speak on camera, but they said that it's, quote, it's spooky looking at this house right now. They knew all of the kids who lived there. They had actually partied in the yard just, within the prior weeks to the murders. They said that they wanted their families to get justice. They were worried, though, that if the house were torn down early, possibly some technicality could prevent Brian Koberger from being appropriately punished. And this was a sentiment that our producer, our stringer, heard repeated often around town today. They were concerned. They wanted the house destroyed, but at the right time, to make sure that all of the investigative work has been done, that there can be no, loophole if the house is gone, that could be a benefit to the defendant in this particular case. It's poignant. Also, the person who witnessed some of the TikTok dances said that they were shocked, quote, by how many people all day long were doing this. They couldn't believe how often that they had been doing the TikTok dances.
So this is what makes it disturbing. And I'm going to come back on and then we'll finish this piece about the TikTok dances. I didn't know about anybody doing TikToks out in front of the house, because if I did see that, I would click right off of it, but I haven't seen it. And that's just goes to show you how much I stay away from the jagaloonish behavior. This sign stays close to me. I could just put it right up quick and boom, boom, Jagaloon Lane. I don't go down Jagaloon Lane. I choose not to walk down it. Lou Lemaraco, thank you for the $5 super chat. Lou is a channel member on here and Police Off the Cuff. Thank you for your support. He says, if everyone agrees, tear it down. Everything needed for trial was taken. Nothing to see here, folks. So I have a scrolling poll down below right here, as you can see. If you think that the house at 1122 King Road should be torn down, press a 1. If you say no to it being torn down, press 2. If you think it's after the trial that it should be taken down, press a 3 in the chat. Let's see. 1, if it should be immediately, as they plan to do in the next 2 weeks. They said at the semester's end, press a 1. If you don't think it should be torn down at all, press a 2, because you heard the business owner here say he didn't think it should be torn down. Or if you think it should be they should wait till after the trial is over and the deal is sealed, whether it's guilty or not guilty, press a 3 in the chat. And it looks like the 3s are winning here. And thank you to my Facebook users and all of the folks in the different groups that we are live now on. We have a couple of Facebook group users like Rosemary chiming in. Rosemary Irene Brooks says, number 1, thank you for watching on Facebook. And if you're not yet subscribed, please consider hitting the subscribe button, hit that notification so you'll get all things DutyRon and Ed Wallace when we go live or upload another video. And we're on all social media, one word, DutyRon. We're also on TikTok. No, we do not dance out in front of the crime scenes that we covered. That would be for Jagaloon Lane, ladies and gentlemen. And if you like Jagaloon Lane, you can thank Matty Boy Sully. Matty Boy Sully, father is a retired NYPD captain. He bought that sign from me. Thank you, Matty Boy Sully. Let's go back to the TikTok nonsense. I want you guys to see how disgusting some people can be.
You'll also be interested to hear that many of the neighbors who live around the house have signs up everywhere on their windows, doors saying, no comment, no media, go away. So we were very lucky to get this reaction today. I also want to play for you what some of the students said. And there you go. You can see some of the pictures. Reporters not welcome. We do not have a statement. Please respect our wishes. We have no statement. Please leave us alone. And then I wanted to give you a couple of the comments of what some of the students we talked to today felt about a memorial on campus or elsewhere. And here's what they said.
Maybe a good spot for a memorial would be somewhere around that area. I think maybe if we wanted to remember it more specifically, maybe over by the library or something to that effect would be good spots for that.
I feel like having the memorial on campus would definitely be a lot better than off campus.
As far as building a memorial on campus, I think that definitely needs to happen. It's a beautiful campus, so I think anywhere they decide will be great.
I am not exactly sure where their memorial should be, but I don't think it should be at the place of their murder. Because to be tied to just their deaths is not something I would wish upon anyone, and I would rather celebrate who they were in life than mourn them for who they were that night.
So there you have it. There are some of the thoughts of those who are in the community about both the house being torn down and the memorial being built. Thank you for watching.
So there you have it, folks. A little bit of commentary and also people chiming in from the community there. Good to see Pete and Richella Pranzo in the chat. A whole bunch of folks are chiming in, and somebody sent a comment asking if it would be better for this demolition to take place after the trial. I already, if you go back to the beginning of this video, you can scroll back now, or you could watch it later. I said if there are a couple of things in place, in other words, if there is 3D laser scan video and images with the flyby, where you could fly in and the jury can see the actual crime scene in its original state, where the victims of this horrific quadruple murder were found by first responders and the crime scene unit detectives. If that is all videoed and high-res photos, taken, then they're going to be in there virtually. They'll be able to be in that crime scene and seeing the remains of these poor victims in this crime. If that's in place, and the defense and the prosecution and the judge are all on board with that, then I say, they have to make that decision. I personally would say number 3, I would wait, because what's the difference if you take it down now in 2 weeks from now, or if you take it down in 5 months from now or a year from now? See, they're looking at this from a different lens. They're looking at it from a different lens, folks. They're looking at it as, what if this trial takes 2 years to come to a completion? What if the trial takes a whole 5 years or 3 years or a year? They're looking at it like it could be a long time, is what I'm thinking of the urgency to get rid of and demolish this location and make a park for healing. Again, it would be really it would be bad for the justice system for them to hastily just run to a demolition just because. But again, I feel strongly that they have that 3D laser scanning images, the Faro technology. Ed and I did a whole show on it, and I'm going to bring it up so you guys can see it, where you're looking at some really, really interesting technology that's available to these folks. So I'm going to go to the Florida Crime Lab. I want you guys to look at it. Here it is. This is from several months ago, but I think it's an interesting piece because this will tell you what I'm talking about right now.
Technically a crime scene. You can see they've got the crime scene tape up. There's a guard out there 24 hours a day. We've really wondered, though, what the process is like inside. We obviously haven't been able to see inside, but we know the investigators have been going in and out doing the forensics. So we went to one of the top forensic centers where crime scene investigators are trained to see what's happening behind the scenes.
All right, pay attention here.
A seemingly unremarkable apartment, the scene of horrific violence. A victim who did not survive, a potential murder weapon, blood spatter, clues for investigators on the walls, floors, just about everywhere.
We have a laptop computer, which will be collected for digital evidence.
And while this crime scene investigator might look like he's carefully processing an active murder case, that's actually not the case at all. He is Kevin Lothridge, giving Newsnation an exclusive tour of Florida International University's Global Forensic and Justice Center.
Every crime scene is unique, from the largest to the smallest.
The university's mock crime scene, west of Tampa, has hosted thousands of police officers and military investigators for training ever since its opening in 2018. Students learn to first secure the crime scene and prevent contamination. Next, do a walkthrough, prioritize collection. Some evidence is perishable and can get warm or melt or be washed away in the elements. Next, photos, video, and 3D imaging. That's all before ever collecting a shred of evidence to be analyzed for biologics, DNA, and digital forensics at the lab. It's a painstaking process with a complexity.
All right, he kind of scales over that quickly, and I wanted to go back to it because he talked about video, high resolution 4K video, imaging, and 3D laser imaging. Okay. And by a show of hands here in the chat, thank you for joining Team Brittany and folks. I see Dawn Marie's here and a lot of the moderators. Thank you for being here, mods. By a show of hands in the chat, press 1 if you saw the video of the Faro 3D laser scan. We had our great friend on from Faro Industries, and he gave us a complete overview. He actually did a demo with us when we were live. If you saw that video, please, press 1 in the chat. Let me know that you had that knowledge. If not, I'm going to link it down below in the description here because that was amazing. I got to get rid of that because that's been bothering me for the last 2 videos. So it was a little fuzz that was on here. Did anybody notice that? I kind of noticed it. So yeah, I mean, again, that video was so educational for me alone. Like when I watched that video, I was like, holy, it's amazing technology. And I want to play this back for you guys so you could watch a little bit more of it.
That's all before ever collecting a shred of evidence to be analyzed for biologics, DNA, and digital forensics at the lab. It's a painstaking process with a complexity that can be astonishing.
If it's a much larger house with a transient population, you're having people depositing information there, evidence, if you will, over periods of time. It may or may not be relevant to the crime scene, but the professional has to go and look and collect what they believe may solve or give answers to what happened at that house.
And that is exactly what detectives in Moscow had to contend with. A well-visited, sprawling home set into the hillside. In the college killings, digital forensics presumably playing a major role. The training center showing how carefully cell phones, tablets, and computers are taken from a scene and brought to the lab for processing, ensuring they don't make contact with any network.
The cool thing about the larger ones is you can put a phone in here with a charger. Because
all right, so they're just going over all of the forensics, but the digital 3D laser scanning is what's most impressive to me. And I'm going to show you guys. I got to just pull it up, so you got to bear with me because I don't have that in my playlist. But again, when I had Luke, he's from the 3D laser Faro Industries. When we had Luke on, that was I thought was one of the most informative shows, because when he did that demonstration, it just blew my mind. I'm going to get it up here because I need to show you guys this, because I think a few of you maybe might have missed it. So that was dated 12/30. All right, here we go. I got it up. I want to play it because when he first joins, he's got the laser scanner going. And it is pretty amazing. So let's get him on. Let's see.
The crime scene investigator named Mike Connolly. In fact, funny you should bring that up, because after they had the bombing in Boston, they didn't have any scanners at that time, but we did. So we offered to come to Boston and scan their scenes for them, but the FBI took care of that, so we didn't have, we volunteered to come and do that for them, but they didn't need us. So, but with that said, Luke, why don't you tell the audience the basics of the scanner, how it's used, what it's used for, and what it can do for crime scene investigators.
This is fascinating. And before you go into that, Luke, I want to just ask you outright, because everybody that's here and that's watching, they're interested in this King Road homicide. These 4 college students who were brutally slain on November 13th of 2022. With this technology that we're talking about, that was used at that location?
Yeah. So I'm not in that particular scene. I would imagine it was. On virtually all major crime scenes now, especially in the U.S., 3D laser scanners are being utilized. I do know that we have many 3D scanners in the state of Idaho. I don't know the particulars of that, but I would imagine they were being used.
Yes, and the chief of police gave during the press conference, he talked about the amount of evidence that was taken, how many photographs were taken. He also said there were 3D laser scans taken of the entire crime scene.
All right, let me just stop right here, because a Facebook user, I don't know who this is, says, I doubt you can get DNA off a scan. This is not what we're talking about. We're talking about if you demolish that location and you have this technology, it can put the jurors directly into the crime scene like they were virtually standing in the doorway. That's what people are really concerned with right here, because the DNA evidence and the biological evidence has all been collected. There's no more viable biological and DNA evidence left inside that location. Everything that they've taken, they've had months and months and months to collect their evidence. They've been in and out of that location, and now it's just boarded up and sealed. So as far as demolition, I think the big argument here is that we see all the time that juries like to go out and go into a crime scene and actually visit a crime scene. They don't all do it. They don't do it in every case, but they like to, if they can, a defense or the prosecution likes to bring them out there. So this argument, or not an argument, but this conversation is being had between the defense and the prosecution and the judge. So everybody that's involved in this process is not just saying, oh, let's just let them rip it down and we won't even have a say in it. Trust me, they've had a say in it. Again, if in fact it sounds like to me what the president of the university is saying, that they want to demolition this house in 2 weeks, I wouldn't want to see that happen that quick. I would like to at least have a little bit more of a discussion, or find out a little bit more information. And it would make me feel better if I knew that the defense and the prosecutor and the judge were all on board with it, and they made an agreement. Because once they make that agreement, you're not going to go back on that agreement. ATS News, Amber, it's always good to see you. Thank you for joining. I love to go on and check out her channel. She has a great YouTube channel, and she also is on Instagram. I always go on and check out some of her stuff. Thank you, Amber, for being here. Agati, thank you for being here. Marilyn Henry, Cindy Stevens. Hey, I'm going to open up Dr. Pamela Cholet. I hope I got that right. If I don't have it right, don't crucify me. I'm not great with names, but thank you, Dr. Pam, for being here. It's always a pleasure to have you in the audience. Southwest 4x4 Explorers, love to see you all the time coming in here. And also Team Brittany, thank you. So let me play just a little bit more, because Luke Hall from Faro Public Safety and Forensics, he talks a little bit about this crime scene, because I kind of cornered him, and I talked to him about the crime scene at 1122 King Road. Again, this was about a month and a half ago that we had this live stream. I'll link it down below, and I encourage you to go and watch it. I have it broken down into chapters so you could see all the chapters. But let's listen to what he has to say. He already said that 3D laser scanning, he's already told us here, is that 3D laser scanning is done in virtually all crime scenes across the United States. This one being no, this is, I'm sure that it was done here. So let's listen to what he has to say. All right, so take it from there, Luke.
Okay, so the basics of utilizing 3D laser scanners is to, capture more data, more accurate data, and more data. Those are the two biggest things. So you can set up a 3D laser scanner in any scene, whether it be an indoor scene, an outdoor scene. It could be raining or snowing or good weather. It doesn't matter, or day or night. And you can quickly and accurately document that crime scene. So for instance, I would go into a scene, and if I want to capture this scene, I would set up a 3D laser scanner on a tripod, and I would then walk out of that scene. The scanner would then spin around in a circle. It's going to be captured.
Okay, that scanner, he just pressed the button, and that scanner is actually taking a 3D laser image of the entire room that Luke is in. And again, I'm sorry that the video is a little grainy. His connection wasn't good, but he does a demo with the 3D laser scanner, and Ed and I saw this 3D laser scanner, not exactly Faro's version, but we saw a 3D laser scanner outside of the King Road homicide location. And I guarantee that they used that inside the location. But he just activated it. Let's unpack that. Is here. Good to see you. Thank you for joining. Let's listen and look at this thing operate.
GPS coordinates, and it's going to be leveling itself day or night. And you can quickly and accurately document that crime scene. So for instance, I would go into a scene, and if I want to capture this scene, I would set up a 3D laser scanner on a tripod, and I would then walk out of that scene. The scanner would then spin around in a circle. It's going to be capturing GPS coordinates, and it's going to be leveling itself out. And then it's going to go around again, and it's going to capture approximately 2 million measurable points per second. And it's going to reconstruct that scene virtually into a perfect 3D model. And then it's going to go around a third time and capture high definition photographs, 68, as it goes around in 360 degrees. So essentially, for every crime scene, you could take several scans throughout it and quickly and accurately document the entire scene, so that 2 years later, you could walk a jury through that scene virtually. Or you could go back in as your investigation evolves. If you learn something else that might be important, again, and it's going to capture approximately.
Why did I just do that? Okay, now we're on to the Murdoch trial. He just said, I'll have to try to get that back. God darn it. He said 2 years later, you could walk someone through the crime scene virtually like they were there in it. Did anybody catch that before I messed up and clicked the go forward button? I'm going to get it back. I promise. I got it back. All right, I got it back. 2 years later, you can walk somebody through that crime scene. Magical Mary says, I agree to take it down, but have defense agree, so no issues. Also, what if Brian Kohlberger didn't do it and they have to try someone else? They'll still have the documentation through the 3D laser scanner and the imaging. So, and this is the live stream. As you can see, there's the live chat going on, and we did this live stream 1 month ago. So let me just open it up so I could see what date we did that. We did this live on January 6th of 2023. All right. So I'm going to play just a little bit more so you can hear him say about the jury and walking them through at 3:59 p.m.
You know, if the mattress
to departments and district attorneys, scene, an outdoor scene, it could be raining or snowing or good weather, it doesn't matter, or day or night, and you can quickly and accurately document that crime scene. So for instance, you know, I would go into a scene, and if I want to capture this scene, I would set up a 3D laser scanner on a tripod, and I would then walk out of that scene. The scanner would then spin around in a circle. It's going to be capturing GPS coordinates, and it's going to be leveling itself out. And then it's going to go around again, and it's going to capture approximately 2 million measurable points per second. And it's going to reconstruct that scene virtually into a perfect 3D model. And then it's going to go around a third time and capture high definition photographs, 68, as it goes around in 360 degrees. So essentially, for every crime scene, you could take several scans throughout it and quickly and accurately document the entire scene so that 2 years later, you could walk a jury through that scene virtually. Or you could go back in as your investigation evolves. If you learn something else that might be important, you could go back into that crime scene virtually and do measurements and reanalyze.
That's fascinating. So there you have it. Yes, it's not going to listen. It's not going to give you the smells of a crime scene. It's not going to give you the. If we walk a jury through that crime scene right now, a jury goes through that building right now. We don't have a jury. The trial's not even, hasn't started. They're not going to get the same effect that this 3D laser scanner technology is going to give them, or high resolution videos and pictures. I've been in on many homicide trials. Thank you, Sumina, for the super sticker. Appreciate you. Thank you. Grace Green, thank you for the $10 super sticker. Appreciate that. I'm going to open this up to conversation. This is my concerns as a retired detective, as somebody who has sat in and has been first officer on the scene of many homicides, with multiple victims. In my time, again, remember when I became a police officer in New York City, it was 1991, right? And in 1991, we had 2,200 murders in the city of New York. 350 of those murders were in my precinct that I worked in. So I handled, not myself personally, but my precinct handled 350 murders in 1991 in my jurisdiction. So there was a mighty great bit of this type of stuff. So, and the technology back then, 30 plus years ago, isn't the same as what it is today. I want to invite you guys to come up and folks, again, be respectful, be also ready to talk about specifically the demolition of 1122 King Road. We're not going to get into conversations about conspiracy theories or other things, but if you want to have a conversation about how you feel about it or what your thoughts are, and I would love to have somebody join me from the Moscow, Idaho, and surrounding areas. If anybody here is watching and that lives in that community, I would love for you to come in, call in, and give me your thoughts, because this show is not just about, Ed Wallace and myself talking to you guys. It's about the community, and it's about you guys. So make sure you engage your microphone, put a pair of headphones on or earbuds, come up and let me know what you think of this. Again, this technology is advanced, but there's a lot of mixed feelings about the demolition of 1122 King Road. And we heard, I took a note right here, they want to demolish it by the end of the semester, which is 2 weeks from now. Let me know what your thoughts are. I did just post a link. Let me post it again, Cindy, because Cindy is a resident. She lives right outside of, she lives in Pullman. So it would be great to have Cindy. I'm going to pin that comment. So that's the link on StreamYard. You're going to activate your camera. You got to let me see who you are. You're going to give me the thumbs up. And again, all I'm just asking for is everyone to just keep it on topic here to the 1122 King Road homicide crime scene structure, that residence being demolished. So I hope folks will call in and give us your thoughts. And again, we're going to be respectful to the victims and their families. Obviously, I feel that the families should have a say in what happens on that property. I really do. I feel strongly about that. I feel strongly that the families should have we should have a say in it. So it is what it is. So thank you everybody for joining. And, again, I want to have some user input here. So thank you, Dawn Marie, for putting up the StreamYard link to go on panel. Anne Marie says it shouldn't be demolished so soon, says Yellow Bikini Girl. Anne Marie says, do what the families want. I agree, but it's not always, again, I feel that the prosecutor and the defense and the judge, those three all have to be on the same page. If they're not in agreement and there's some kind of problems with a stipulation, because once you demolish it, it's over. M. Finn says it well. Thank you, M. Finn, for being a subscriber. She says, DutyRon, it's too soon to demolish it. This is a very sensitive matter, and the families need time and input. It's extremely important. If you hear the interviews with the University of Idaho president, or you read his writings, he's talking about healing and the process of going forward, and the pain that the surrounding residents and the folks who attending the University of Idaho and everyone in the community, that he's talking about the pain and trying to heal and move on. So joining us, I'm going to just wait till she gives me the thumbs up. I don't think she wants the video on. She just wants audio. If you just have the audio on, Cindy, she just must have clicked something and clicked herself out. Let me send her a direct link so she has it. I'm gonna message the link. JD Wells says, take it down. No evidence left to gather. Tear it down and burn the pieces, says JD Wells, with an interesting profile picture. Thank you for that, JD Wells. Let's see. I'm going to highlight some of your comments. Tracy King, good to see you. Thank you for joining. The house is an odd configuration, not safe. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to try to scan the chat and pick out some of the good comments, because, of course, folks don't want to come up and talk about this. I wish people would want to talk about it, because I always like to get everyone's thoughts. And sometimes in the comments, the thoughts kind of speed by real fast. So let's see if I can bring up something here. Hold on a second. All right, let's see if I can get this up. All right, there's Cindy without the camera, or she does have the camera. I'll wait till she gives me the thumbs up. She just went like, so what? All right, she gave me the thumbs up, I think. Cindy, thanks for joining. Can you hear me? Oh my.
Yeah, I can hear you. Hi.
Okay. Hi, how are you, Cindy?
I look like hell.
So do I. Don't worry, I look like hell every day. All right, I'll back up.
Yesterday.
All right. Well, thank you for being brave. This is a conversation that I think is important to have. When the news broke on Friday, who did I text first? You. I went right to you, because we're friends, and we've developed this friendship over time. from covering this case, and through tragedy sometimes good things happen, and I feel honored to have you as a friend, and I also feel honored that you've trusted Ed and I to share information about what's happening there. What's the thoughts in the community, and what are you hearing around town? Because I know that in the job that you do, you engage with a lot of different people.
I do, and what I'm hearing is that they want the house demolished because it's respectful, and I'm not sure if people like what you just brought up is so interesting. I hadn't thought about the case because they want to turn it into a healing garden and all this, and I think that people probably just want it to be over, and I don't think that they're thinking ahead. So what you just brought up is actually super important, DutyRon. I wasn't thinking that either. I was thinking the emotional,
right?
Yeah,
and I'm always thinking of the wheels of justice. Listen, I'm not a cold-hearted person. I'm very empathetic. I always put the victims' families first, because victims can't speak anymore. They're deceased, right? They were four people's children were murdered, right? Young adults, 20, both are 220s and 221s. I say this, if this can hurt with one sliver of hurt for justice, then I say don't do it. Wait, because they have chain link fence around it. They have it boarded up. Nobody can get access to it. I see still the security car is still there. I know that's costing money, but the University of Idaho was just the ownership, I believe, had to of that property had to either donate it or whatever I don't even care. To me, it doesn't even matter whether they were paid, whether they weren't, whether they donate. That doesn't matter to me. And I said the S word, because what matters to me is what the real intentions are. And I think the intentions are very good because everybody wants to heal. But I don't think that they just jumped to this quickly and said, oh, let's tear it down, get the bulldozer in there, let's barrel it over. The courts were involved, the prosecution, the defense. The families will have a say in what happens in that property, I'm sure, and the students together. But that will come a long time down the road. But tearing it down is causing a whirlwind of all different opinions and thoughts. We all have them. Everybody. You could speak to 100 different people. Southwest 4x4 Explorer says, I'm from Washington, just a few hours away from Moscow. It's common in small towns to allow fire departments to burn down houses for training and symbolisms. I don't think that they would allow a controlled burn of this location. That would be disrespectful. I feel, it's just my personal opinion. I see Cindy's shaking her head. Yes.
Yeah.
I think it has to be done collectively together as what they feel would be the right thing to do. And I think a controlled demolition and then something like a memorial garden and what they're talking about, or any kind of conversation of remembering these 4 victims and their families and having a place for people to come and heal.
Right. Well, I talked to my daughter. She's 30, and she was part of what they call Fretlantis. She used to hang out. She's been in that house. She's been in that whole area. And the first thing she said to me was, did you see they're going to demolish the house? And I said, yes. And she was absolutely 100% just on board. However, what you made me think of, Ron, was the OJ case.
Right.
And back when that was all going on, I've been in true crime that long, because when that happened, I read the book American Tragedy, and what I never knew, and I'm sure people out here know, but I did not know at the time, that they can take the jury to the house, whichever. They took the jury to Nicole's house, they took the jury to OJ's house, and before they took those juries to those homes, they staged them.
Mm-hmm.
So Nicole's house was bare. No furniture, no photos, no anything, just a white, apartment or house with white paint, nothing to get emotionally attached to. Then they took the jury to OJ's house and they removed all the photos of white people, put up African Americans, put up his Heisman Trophy thing, and took the photo of his girlfriend down off of his nightstand, put up his mom's photo. Like, they staged these places. So the emotional impact was no emotional impact to Nicole's house because there's nothing there. The emotional impact to OJ's house, which was why would he ever give up all of this? There's no way he could be guilty. So what you just said is changing how I'm looking at this, not how I feel, because I feel like, who would ever want to live in that house for a reason other than sensational? Oh, I live in the house where those young people were murdered. You know, so my emotional side says this, but my logical side agrees with you. And the other folks in the chat that are saying, wait until the trial. But I don't know what they would do, like how they're going to use that. But are you saying that maybe there's still evidence there?
I believe, and I talked to Ed Wallace about this extensively. He's a crime scene unit expert. I believe, and if you speak to anybody that's from crime scene and evidence collection and forensics, the evidence that they have removed from that location is complete. There's not much more that you can get from that location. Again, we don't have access to the case file. The evidence against Brian Kohlberger could be overwhelming. There could be a mountain of evidence that we are unaware of. We have the probable cause affidavit, which is a slither of all it was to get probable cause to issue arrest warrants for felony murder and the burglary. That's it. They put extra in there, 18 pages or whatever, how many pages it was. They put all that extra in there. That was fluff. They didn't need to put that in there to get that arrest warrant, but they did. And that means that they have an overwhelming amount of additional evidence. Him communicating back and forth, communications on his computers and so forth. It's just we don't know the enormity of it. But that's not what this is all about. People are worried that there's still evidence inside there, that there's still stuff that they didn't recover. Everything that's in there is just. It's not going to help. I'll just say this. It's not going to help. They're going to have the 3D laser imaging. They're going to have videos that were taken from high quality, like something you would use in a movie, 4K resolution cameras and again, the PTSD folks, if you're listening, just put it on mute right now. But these 4 murdered victims will be photographed, videoed, and a 3D laser walkthrough. So 3D goggles can be issued to each one of the jurors, and they can walk right in themselves into that location. That's how the technology is. And knowing that's enough to put them in there to get a feel for what that crime scene was like. Listen, the photos and videos is all we really had back in 30 years ago, high resolution photos. We didn't really even have high res video. But we were still jurors were able to see videos of crime scenes because I was there on many homicide cases, testifying as the first officer, as an investigating officer. So I would sit through these trials, and I watched the Karina Vetrano trial, which was a jogger in New York who was murdered while she was out running. And in that Karina Vetrano trial, I sat in the front row. As a retired detective, I went into the courthouse where I worked for many, many years, and I knew the court officers. They let me sit right in the front row, and her parents were sitting right behind me, the victim's parents, and they had to turn away from all the stuff that was being put up in the opening with the prosecution. And for me, being out of the business for so long, it never got easy for me to see someone's daughter, out in a puddle of water, naked after she was brutally beaten and raped, and then have the family sitting right behind me. So it was tough. It was just a tough thing, but they're all going to get to see this stuff, and that's the real life of this. The people that don't know what goes on behind the scenes are sitting at home going, "Whoa, I saw on 48 Hours or on an episode of Bones that you need to have all this stuff." They had ample time to do what they had to do. And listen, for those of you who don't know Cindy Hollenbeck, she was a resident of Moscow, Idaho, and she now is a resident in Pullman, Washington. She works and lives in this community. She knows what the feel of and the vibe of the community is because she's in touch with the people that she lives around. So
I ask people all the time. I did yesterday, and I'm sorry, I look like hell.
So do I. I look
No,
like
Ron, you look great. We put my pit bull down yesterday, so she was 13, and so my son and I had a rough day, and I'm puffy from crying. Yeah, but no, thank you. What I wanted to ask you, so are you saying that you are okay if they demolish it now?
if they have all of this stuff in place. I'm not
Okay.
saying outright, yes, go ahead and demolish
Okay.
it. If they have all of, and I keep repeating myself because I want people that watch and that come in the middle of it to see it. But if they have all three parties, the judge, the prosecutor, the defense, if they're all on board and they have the 3D laser imaging, high-res video of the crime scene in its natural state, because again, like I said, you sent somebody through there with those windows boarded up and they walk into that place and the blood is still inside there and not environmentally cleaned up by the crew, because we know that the crime scene crew was stopped by court order, right? I never heard a follow-up whether the crime scene crew went in there and cleaned it up. According to Ed Wallace, they would have to cut floors and cut walls out, cut sheetrock and put new sheetrock in. Like, things would have to be completely removed. You can't just clean up biological waste, blood and other matter that's been sitting there for months and months. You can't just go in with Clorox cleanup and clean it up, you know. Magical Mary sends in a super sticker and she said, would also have to rezone for anything other than house resident there. So neighbors need to have input. That would be something that would be done, through the zoning board. And I don't think there would be any opposition to rezoning from residential to a park-like property. I don't think there would be any fighting. This isn't New York City. This is a small community, right? 25,000 residents in Moscow, I believe, and a lot of them are college. It all revolves around the college. I don't think that there would be any, but thank you, Magical Mary, for that comment. And listen, I encourage more people. Why is it just that we have only Cindy here? And I love you, Cindy. I
love you too. You guys, yeah. I mean, I'm so glad you said all this because it's actually kind of what I'm thinking. So if we don't need anything from there, get it out of there. And I know that the residents would be happy because I'll tell you what, one of my friends lives in that area. Thank you, Alexa. One of my friends lives, like, I'm going to say kitty corner to the house. So you know how they have all those houses around. There's a blue apartment building and whatever. One of my friends lives there. She just had a baby. And when this all broke, she was still pregnant. And it was, I mean, I'm sure the noise ordinance is one thing, right? They were always having parties. So there was a lot of noise. And everyone in that little area works or they go to school because it's off campus. But my friend said once the murder happened, they couldn't get out of their driveway anymore because the media just came right down, and you've all seen how small it is there. And Koberger, the suspect, had to do a K-turn because that's a dead-end street.
Yeah.
You can't drive through that street. So imagine living in that area thinking, I'm on this dead-end street, it's great, it'll be less busy. And then the national news media descends on that tiny area. So my friend, and I'm not going to say her name, just call her R, R could no longer leave the house. Jeez. If she tried to leave the house, she would get bombarded by media. Plus, there's a murder in your neighborhood, 4 murders in your neighborhood, and you're pregnant. So
wow.
I would work with her because we work together outside of WSU in a different form.
Right.
And it was a nightmare. And she was constantly posting stuff on Facebook. I wish they'd leave me alone, etc.
Yeah.
And once the suspect was caught, then the media descended again. Okay, so I won't bore you, but if they put a healing garden in that spot, just imagine how now this area, I mean, people moving into the area, they're going to hear about it, but they didn't have to live through it. So that's going to be better. And then all the folks that work and live in that little spot there, now R has somewhere to take her baby. And there was another woman there who was pregnant with a baby. So, there's not just the college students there. There's actually people that live and work.
We look at, Cindy, that's a very good point that you brought up, because it impacts everybody around there. A small community like that, you look at when you drive down to the end of King Road and that exit that leads out to the main road where where everything is, there's all houses. It's all residential. Now, granted, a lot of the properties there are geared towards income with, renting out to the college students. We get that. It's like that across all of the United States, right? All of America has the college towns. Can you hang with us for a bit? Can you hang?
Yep.
All right. So
you
Laura,
guys don't mind.
all right. No, we love it. We love you. Listen, Cindy, you're giving us insight into, folks that live there. And I can't tell you how important that is, because everybody could sit and talk about this, but nobody knows other than the people who are there and how it affects them. High volumes of traffic of gawkers coming to see that home. Look at what happened in the Chris Watts case. You got freaks still. There's a new family that moved in there. You got freaks that still go out there and try to steal rocks and run away with a piece of something from the location. If it's a controlled spot where it's a memorial garden with cameras there, and I would imagine University of Idaho will put cameras up, make sure nobody defaces anything or does anything, because you're going to have a lot of outsiders that are going to come initially and gawk or want to see or pay respects and so forth. But once all of this hoopla kind of settles down, like you said, it's going to be for those people to come and bring their dogs and bring their families and bring their people to pray and so forth. So it's a good thing. Laura, when you give me the thumbs up, I'll add you on, aka Southwest 4x4. I love that she's here. Laura, thank you for joining. How are you?
I'm good. I got to kind of keep my voice down. So can you hear me okay?
I hear you fine.
Okay.
What's your
Sorry, I have
thoughts?
the 911 dispatcher, so he works all night.
Aww. Thank you for
So
his
my whole
service.
household has to be quiet. I'm an ex-firefighter paramedic. And
Thank you
I'm
for your
from Washington
service.
State. And so my big deal about burning down the house was not out of disrespect for any of the family members that burned down the house, was let them learn from that by having a training fire video, a fire can't speak.
I got what you're saying.
A training fire, a training burn, a burn to learn.
Right.
And then do something extremely respectful for those families. And
yeah, I mean, I got it. It's just that I think that there's probably plenty of old barns and structures that they could do these controlled burns with training and so forth, as opposed to take a site where 4 people were brutally murdered and do a controlled burn for just me.
Okay.
That's just my thoughts. Don't become not a friend of mine for me thinking that, but I still feel strongly that if that was my daughters or my son that was killed there, I wouldn't want some fire department going in there and training and doing a burn. And I get your thought was in the right place, but for me, I say no to that.
all right, I can go along with that.
I love you, though,
I'm
Laura.
in front of you right now.
But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think in the chat? I mean, I listen, I'm all for teaching and learning, but again, Cindy, I don't know the area like you do. I'm sure there's many older structures or abandoned structures where you could do, right? Am I wrong on that?
Oh, no, there's lots of them. And I understand. I hear what Laura's saying. I think that it might be really not safe though, because it's, there's so many people that live in that tiny little spot. It's almost crazy. But when you're in your 20s, you don't care. You like having people around. I mean,
here's something that Lexi said in the chat. Look at this. Clear the debris, take it somewhere and burn it, and do a controlled burn with the debris, because it's going to be a lot of wood and so forth. Because from what I understood, that was there was a lot of additions added to that house and stuff, and might not have been constructed with the most solid construction, because people were saying you could hear, and like it was neighbors were continually calling the police because of the noise and so forth. But that's a good idea, Lexi. Thank you for putting that in. Valerie Pratt in the chat says, I don't mind, burn it. So you're not alone, Laura. Again, I didn't mean to poo-poo you. We're having a conversation. I'm just saying, me personally, I wouldn't like that. But everybody's got their own opinions. They say opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one, right?
And they all stink.
And some are bigger than others.
And they all stink.
Yeah, exactly. We could have the best, like Laura was like, oh, this is a great idea. Let me put that in the chat. And then now she's like, oh, DutyRon doesn't like it. But I'm always, because okay, so, you know, you being in the field, when you're at a car wreck or somewhere where there's a fatality and then the family comes to scene, like we see that on TV and people see that, but when you're in person right there in front of the people and you have to tell them, so and so didn't make it, it's just one of the hardest, heart-wrenching things to do. We had our good friend Tiffany Leonard on, right? And she said she specialized in child predators and child, folks that went after children. And she's handled some where people have been killed, young kids have been killed. And she said it was some of the hardest stuff to have to deal with when you're dealing with, tragedies like this where it involves a child. So it's tough. It's tough. I wish that more people would call in, but I'm so happy that Cindy and Laura chimed in. Laura, do you have any other thoughts on the legalities of taking this property down before the trial commences? What's your thoughts on that, Laura?
I think a lot of juries that have had to go tour scenes have gotten PTSD. It is very traumatic to see this. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. So I think the scanning of the scene is a much better idea, but that's my opinion. I don't know if it would affect prosecution or anything like that. But in my opinion, if they can get away with a video, it's much less graphic and less scarring.
Yes. And you know what? I went on in that video that I shared with Luke from Faro Technologies. I went on to question him, and I'm encouraging people. I'm going to link it here down below in the description. Becky, who volunteers for the channel, she broke it down into chapters. So you can go, it's an hour and like 20 minutes, but you could go and look at the chapters. And I actually cornered him and said, is this presentable? Is it legal in a court of law? And he said, juries across the United States use 3D laser scanner technology to get into the crime scene because some of the crime scenes are either too far away, or some of the jurors can't walk upstairs if it's in an apartment building on the 15th floor and the elevator's out, or maybe it's a 4-story walk up, so it really does help. And all of it is admissible in the court of law, and it's all can be used to have real time look into the crime scene. And there's nothing, in my eyes, there's nothing more impactful than to have a jury walk into a crime scene and actually see with 3D goggles on and actually see the victims that they are hearing about in a trial right there in front of them. I don't know how much more close you can get. So for me, that was a real mind-blowing piece of technology. When Luke was telling me about that, I was just like, what? Wow. Yeah.
It makes me happy shouldn't be the right word, but
relieved.
I think, relieved might be the word. I keep thinking about not Chief Fry, but Lanier.
Right.
And when Moscow PD was keeping everything so close to the vest, and many people thought the case wasn't going to be solved and that they had no leads, et cetera, et cetera. If I were a juror, and I won't be because I don't live in the county anymore, but I think that seeing that's going to be hopefully more toward getting a conviction than not.
Yeah.
Because if anybody sees what went on in there, I can't imagine that they would be.
Right. Here's one of my big fears, because now we have, so I've been very vocal about Banfield and some of the news outlets talking about these sources. I don't want to bring it up here and I'm not going to go into it, but it gets me livid, because now I wonder, is a year from now or 5 months from now, if the trial goes quickly and commences and then trial's over, are we going to be seeing leaked photos and images and videos of this crime scene? If that happens, I swear I will go ballistic, because is that what we're looking at here next? I hope and pray that I'm wrong, but my mind has unfortunately gone there, because you see these freaks, and again, I'm going to take the Jagaloon sign out with my friends here. And you see these Jagaloons coming up and popping in, and it's just blowing my mind. So we have Canadian Gal. I want to add her with you ladies, if it's all right. Laura, are you good? Laura,
More the merrier.
You can
just let me disconnect because my dog's
Okay.
gonna go.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you. I love that you came on. Thank you for taking out the time out of your day, and thank your. You said your husband's the 911 operator.
Yeah.
Thank him for his service, and thank you for yours.
Sucks.
All right, we'll see you soon.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Laura.
There she goes, Laura, Southwest 4x4. She's gone. All right, Canadian Gal. She's just got the mic muted. Add her into the stream. Canadian Gal, how are you? Ooh,
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good, thank you. What's your thoughts on the King Road residence being plans to be demolished in 2 weeks?
Well, I lived through an experience where I live in Southern Ontario, and I live where Paul Bernardo and Carla Homolka, these serial killers back in the mid-90s. I'm not sure if you've heard of their names.
I remember.
I did. I heard about it.
And Paul Bernardo was also known to be the Scarborough R word. Later on, detectives found out that he was known as the Scarborough R word. But and what happened was
you can say it, yeah.
Right.
Okay, well, he was the Scarborough rapist. They found out later on that he was the Scarborough rapist, and so I was the same age as those two girls when it went down. They were 14, I was 14, and I remembered it was a very scary time for everybody. And but without skipping a beat, the city bought the home, and it was demolished. Nobody wanted anymore. Family, everybody, nobody wanted that property to be there for various reasons. Mostly because they didn't want it to be an attraction place for people to go to this location to tell story, of what happened. And when they did it, respectfully, and there's articles about it, they demolished the home, and they had a bunch of volunteers that came in with bulldozers and stuff and supervised it. And they grabbed the entire remains of the house. So they left everything inside the house, the furniture, everything that was in there, demolished it completely, and then took it away and then buried it 10 feet under in an undisclosed location. So nobody can go and try to get some souvenir or try to do anything silly like that. And then the property was sold off, and another home was built, and now another home stands there, and people live there, and it's been fine. They just didn't want that. And
let me ask you, Canadian Girl. Let me ask you something.
It's no longer even in existence. They even removed the address to even be found anymore.
Well, let me ask you something, Canadian Girl. Was that done before, during, or after the trial?
I'm trying to remember if it was during the trial or after the trial. I'm trying to remember because that was back in 1995.
We'll look it up. We'll look it up, and if anybody knows, let us know down below in the comment section. Let me know about that case that we were talking about.
And one of the mothers was there, if I'm not mistaken. It was Leslie Mahapi's mother. Was there for the demolition, and the news crew spoke to her, and she said, this is what I want. She said, it's not the land. She said, it's the home, and what happened in the home was evil, and I want that to be gone. And since it was gone, you don't have people that show up at that spot and park or talk or trying to grab souvenirs, because like I said, nobody knows where it's buried 10 feet under wherever it's buried.
There you go. JD said it was after the trial. I'll trust that, but I'm going to definitely go in and check it out, and I'll let you guys know in the comment section down below. I love to have the conversation afterwards. And then listen, I'm going to go full screen with me for a second, ladies, if you don't mind. Guys and girls, we're talking about the demolition that's planned at 1122 King Road. That's the location of the University of Idaho students off campus, the homicide that occurred on November 13th of 2022. We want to know what your thoughts, what your feelings are. And we have, a resident who no longer resides in Moscow, Idaho, but is in Pullman, which is a short jump, as we've come to learn, 8 or so miles away from Moscow. So I ask, and I want this conversation to continue after we end this live stream. Let me know in the comments down below in this video what you think. Should it be demolished as they planned in 2 weeks at the end of the semester, as per the president of the University of Idaho, or should it not be demolished? Or should they wait until after the trial commences and concludes, and then do a controlled takedown and do the planning. So 1, 2, and 3, you have 3 choices. Let me know in the comment section, like I said, down below, because I'm always interested in hearing what our community, what you guys feel and what you guys think. So Cindy, again, you said in your last meeting with us that you work alongside a local university there, and also you do some other type of work as well, where you're engaging with folks. Yeah, there you go. She's got it. Washington State. I didn't want to say it. You did say it in the last show.
It's okay.
So
Actually, what I wanted to clarify, and it's not, I'm not sure. I said this on a different podcast. So my son is a Moscow high school student. He's 17. And so his father still lives in Moscow. And the only reason I moved to Pullman, I would never have moved to Pullman because Moscow is the place to be. But because Moscow is so popular, it is impossible to find a house that's affordable. And I sold my house and I made a big profit. And I moved to Pullman and I live in this little manufactured home, which is really inexpensive and near work, because I work at WSU. And WSU, now I have a 5-minute commute. I used to have a 15-minute commute. Like it's tiny, right? And my son, because my ex-husband and I have joint custody and he's not 18 yet, he goes to Moscow High and lives with his dad during the week, but he lives here on every other weekend. And I asked him yesterday, are you going to go to U of I or are you going to go to WSU? Because
what did he say?
He could do either. And we're so close. And I mean that in the figurative sense. Moscow and Pullman are an incredibly close community and we all love each other. So even if you ask people from WSU, and I haven't yet because I was in Moscow all day yesterday for the euthanization of the dog, and then we went to breakfast. Then I went to the co-op, and I literally asked one of the co-op people, have you been following the case? And they don't.
Yeah.
Right?
So a lot of people don't follow it. A lot of people
don't. It amazes me. It amazes me.
Hey, and again, this is really good for the international audience and the folks across the United States to hear about how the people in the surrounding communities, not just in Moscow, Idaho, but outside, there's the bordering communities. You're just a hop, skip, and a jump away in Pullman, where Brian Kohlberger stayed at the Washington State University. If you guys don't mind, ladies, I don't know, Katie and Gal, I don't know if you have time, but I want to play for some of the newcomers the News Nation piece with Nancy Liu, because I think it was the best one. I try to stay away from playing some of the Banfield stuff because she makes me sick. But I want to play this little piece right here quickly, if you guys don't mind.
That would be great.
All right, cool. So let's watch this and we'll be right back with you guys. If you can, just mute the mics.
And we are continuing tonight with an update from the University of Idaho. The owner of this King Road home where 4 University of Idaho students were murdered last year is now being donated to the university.
Today we have learned the school is going to demolish the home and create a healing garden and memorial for Kaylee, Xana, Ethan, and Madison. Krem 2 Shannon Mowdy has more tonight from Moscow.
Police tape still circles this entire scene, but there are signs of change at the King Road home in Moscow, Idaho, where 4 University of Idaho students were murdered. The university now owns this property and says it'll be torn down.
To get rid of that place that's so painful for our community. It's the place where these 4 students were brutally murdered, and the reminder still stands.
Now boarded up and blocked off with warnings against trespassers, the King Road home where Xana, Madison, Ethan, and Kaylee were killed is likely seeing its last winter.
We're hoping to begin demolition just as quickly as possible and definitely would like to see it come down this semester.
Jody Walker says the University of Idaho hopes by spring this property will be leveled, discouraging those who are sensationalizing what's become a painful reminder for this community.
The owner of the King Road property approached the university about receiving the home, and the university accepted that donation.
While one reminder is coming down, the University of Idaho will be far from forgetting.
We absolutely have students on the planning committee for this. It is important that we have students. This is a space for them.
A memorial and healing garden is being planned. So far, no site has been selected, but Walker says it's a step toward healing.
They're all just signs of community and a Vandal family trying to help each other move forward. So all our
I thought that was a good piece, and I thought I had the Cindy Lou and the Nancy Lou one up, but that one was very good as well. I like Creme too. They're local, right? Cindy, yeah.
Yeah, and Jody Walker is my former boss when I worked at University of Idaho.
So you're familiar with the woman that they had on.
Very, very familiar. Yes.
Yeah. So I thought that was a good piece. Here's the one from. I think this is from Nancy. I had it. I have silly me. You know, you call DutyRon a dummy, whatever you want to call me. I had them labeled backwards. So
brutal quadruple.
Here's the one from Cindy. Let's play this one because I promised everybody I'd play it. If I don't play it, I know in the comments I'm going to get crushed. So I got to play it. Here we go, ladies. Cindy, Nancy Lou.
We have an update about the scene of a brutal quadruple murder. The house where 4 University of Idaho students were found murdered will be torn down. And the news coming more than 3 months after that crime rocked the small community of Moscow. Correspondent Nancy Lou joins us live. Nancy, the homeowner gave that property to the school.
That's right, Nicole. And in the wake of the quadruple murders, that 3-story house just off the Idaho campus is familiar to people all over the country. But soon that home will be demolished. The school telling News Nation it will happen before the end of this semester. The 6-bedroom rental on King Road is already boarded up and surrounded by a chain link fence. Along with word that the owner has donated the structure to the University of Idaho, the school has announced plans to tear it down in the next few weeks. In a statement, the U of I president notes that this is a healing step and removes the physical structure where the crime that shook our community was committed. Demolition also removes efforts to further sensationalize the crime scene. We're evaluating options where students may be involved in the future development of the property.
Is this your car?
It's been nearly 2 months since the arrest of Brian Kohberger, a graduate student at nearby Washington State who is now awaiting trial on 4 counts of first-degree murder. Ethan Chapin, Maddie Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Kaylee Gonsalves were found stabbed to death on November 13th. As the investigation took shape, the murder scene remained under guard for months. At one point, the tragic sight of police removing the personal items of the victims.
Can you tell us what you were looking for?
At others, News Nation on the scene exclusively as investigators worked the case. Also there later, as preparation for a remediation process was halted by a court to allow access by Kohberger's defense team. But now the home has been cleared, and indeed it has been an attraction among the curious.
Okay, I don't know. Did anybody get from what Nancy Lou just said there? So I asked that question about 15 minutes ago. Was that home cleared and given back over? Now we know, obviously, for them to donate it to the University of Idaho, it was cleared. And
yeah.
it was cleared and given back. So basically, she showed that piece, Canadian gal and Cindy. She showed that piece because obviously it was cleared and given back, but we just didn't hear anything about it.
Yeah.
Now, somebody in the chat was saying, how are we to believe the media about the TikToks? Well, I had some of my friends, some of my people who are sleuthing around on the internet. Before I speak about things, I go and get some verification. And Cindy, you know how I am about this, right? You could tell the audience what you got from me over Friday night after date night was over. I think it was Friday, right? That I texted you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I had heard during the day that they're going to demolish the house, but Ron sent me something just asking if it was verified. And the first thing I did was check my email because I get vandal alerts every Friday. I'm sorry, it's not an alert. It's a newsletter from the president. But because I was at work, I didn't pay attention to it. So I went back and went to the University of Idaho website where you can find the president's letters from every Friday, because he sends one every Friday, and I'm an alum, Vandal alum, and that's where I saw it, and I just screenshotted it for Ron to send it to him because that is as verifiable as you can get that the president said it.
And that's the only way I would have spoke about it. If I was not able to get confirmation of it. I don't even rely again on the news, because the news goes with their sources that
Right.
sometimes can be either right or wrong. It's a crapshoot. It's like a 50-50 crapshoot. And lately, the news sources, I feel, have just sensationalized because of a gag order here, and they want to just have to push out their information to pay for their advertisers and to get people to go ooh and ah. And you know what I say to that?
Oh, hell no!
And then I say one more thing.
Pardon my French, but you're an asshole.
That's a classic.
So
That's the best. I laugh every time I hear it.
can't do a live stream without using either one of those two.
Oh,
you know?
no.
So Nancy Lou sealed the deal for me with that crime scene obviously was cleared. They're done with it. But before I wrap this up, I wanted to ask you one more thing, Cindy. Iris Hewlett in the chat said something, and it's long gone. But she said all of the kids or all of the people from Pullman, from the Washington State University, go to Moscow to party and to do their thing. Is that true?
Yeah, and it's not just party. Banfield did something that really pissed me off. Talking about sensationalizing stuff. So Pullman's downtown is just not a happening place. And there's a couple of bars. There's a place called My Office, and they have amazing food. They have this taco salad where they put Doritos in it instead of taco shells.
Oh my.
But yeah, they're really expensive. And my boyfriend's always bitching about that. He's like, I don't like going there because their beers are $7 when we can get them at the Moose Lodge for $2.50.
I like the sound of the Moose Lodge.
The Moose Lodge is great. I would love it for you and your wife to come visit us. But there's a couple places, but
Do they serve Pinot Grigio there?
do we serve what?
Pinot Grigio wine?
Yeah, but it's out of a box.
That's what my wife drinks.
Okay.
So
Well, then
maybe we should have a non-dirty martini, you know?
Oh yeah. I love the dirty martini. I love the green olives. But so anyway, I'm sorry. Going back to Banfield. So she said somebody asked, and this is alleged, okay? Somebody asked Koberger, why would you be going to Moscow all the time if you were going to WSU? And he said the shopping is better. And Banfield said, oh, did he mean shopping for prey? And a bunch of my friends from Moscow were like, that's not what it means at all. I'm not giving Koberger any benefit of the doubt, okay? But as somebody who has lived in this area for almost 30 years, everybody goes to Moscow to shop because they have Winco, which is a inexpensive grocery store that's employee owned. They have a co-op, you know, so you can get awesome organic food. They have, who cares about Walmart? They both have a Walmart, but Moscow has restaurants, i.e. the Mad Greek, Tapped, Hungadunga, Myelina, Gambino's. Like they have all these places to go. And they have a mall. It's a teeny tiny little mall if you grow up in New York like me and move here, but they have a mall. So the shopping is better, is nothing to do with prey.
Right. Well, thank you for clearing that up and the clarification. That gives a great insight there. Canadian Gal sent me the article from 1995 about the demolition of the Paul Bernardino's house, and she linked it in the private chat. So thank you for that, Canadian Gal. So I guess everybody else doesn't want to come up and chat with us, but listen, the piece that I was playing, folks, the part that I was playing was basically just, it was a clip that was current. So let me play it all because some people were confused by it. Somebody in the chat said, oh, that was when they were clearing the house. No, she was using that as content to that King Road, the 1122 King Road, has been released. Nancy Lou was just showing it to say, remember it was halted, just as I was saying 20-30 minutes ago, on the date that Kohlberger got collared over in Pennsylvania. His defense, or the defense over in Idaho, Ann Taylor, put in an order to freeze that cleanup, and it was for good reason. You know,
it actually happened, if you remember, the night before the arrest.
Yeah, he said Thursday night, Chief Fry said that we're going to be going. I don't want anybody to get upset. I have it queued up. I can play it.
Yeah, it's so serendipitous because the next day when my daughter said they have an arrest, I said,
But he had the arrest
stopped.
warrants. But
That's
he
why
had,
they stopped the cleaning of the house.
right, but he had the knowledge of the arrest warrant, so
Absolutely
he knew
he
that he
did.
was going to get collared the
Yep.
next day, because that wasn't just something that just happened, you know.
No.
So let me just back it up just a little bit, and we'll let the whole thing play. Canadian gal, do you have time to hang out, or I feel like I'm just leaving you hanging out there? Do you have anything to
I'm
say?
good.
All right, cool.
I'm taking it all in.
Thank you for hanging with us, Canadian gal. I love it.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's do it.
Personal items of the victims
Can you tell us what you were?
took shape.
All right, so this is older. This is older content that they are putting into context. So this way
Ben
we
Chapin,
understand.
Maddie Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Kaylee Gonsalves were found stabbed to death on November 13th. As the investigation took shape, the murder scene remained under guard for months. At one point, the tragic sight of police removing the personal items of the victims.
Can you tell us what you were looking for?
At others, News Nation on the scene exclusively as investigators worked the case. Also there later, as preparation for a remediation process was halted by a court to allow access by Koberger's defense team. But now the home has been cleared, and indeed it has been an attraction among the curious. The U of I has also announced plans for 4 new scholarships, as well as a future healing garden and memorial to honor the 4 victims. Nicole?
Yeah, that community trying to heal. Thank you, Nancy.
So there you have it. So that's the whole thing in its entirety, and that's some of the dangers of when I stop it. Someone comes up on the video and they're like, "Oh, that was from a long time ago." I thought that was a good piece. Lieutenant Pete Pranzo, Harlem Raiders, retired NYPD lieutenant. He's in the chat. I thank you for being here, and Richella, we thank you for the support. Iris is. Again, I want her to be heard. So here at DutyRon, I didn't say partying, but since you said that, everyone also reportedly went to Moscow to party. Yes, that's what I recall. Yeah. And no one disputes the house was a major party home. Of course, definitely not. We got to see it firsthand from body cam footage that we probably would have never seen if this heinous crime did not occur. That would be body cam footage that we would never see. And I'm sure that the Moscow Police Department has dozens and dozens and dozens of other body cam footage of other outside and inside the University of Idaho places that are off campus or bordering off campus where people make noise complaints. It's part of.
And I just want to say, this is so interesting. If you watch some, DutyRon's my favorite podcast, okay, and I support him with money, not a lot, but enough, on YouTube.
This is a partial. She's very partial to DutyRon.
I am partial to you.
Thank you, Cindy.
Yeah, for lots of reasons. But I love your podcast, but I want to say, obviously, I watch other ones, listen to other ones, and one of the things that I noticed is that people were hesitant to say the word party house. I like you too, Leah. Thank you. Because it has a negative connotation. But other people, and I want to thank the Lord for these people, have said these are college students. They have every right to be having fun. Yeah, there's underage drinking. There's underage drinking everywhere. But party house isn't negative, especially in this area. And I'm just going to say they wouldn't call that Fratlantis if it wasn't revered. And I'm not saying everyone should party, but I do want to say that it's okay to call it that, because a lot of people were hesitant. But when I watched the 2020 story of the town, a young woman said, "When the vandals lose, there's always booze." That should tell you what the town is like. You know what I mean? And it's not negative. People should be responsible. They shouldn't drink and drive and all that, right? But when the vandals lose, there's always booze. I just thought, if that doesn't solidify what Moscow is like, I don't know what does.
Yeah.
You know?
It gives you a great insight to what they're about, is what
Right.
I think that's what you're saying here.
Right.
Is that, this is a community that's fueled and ran and fired around the university, but
Absolutely.
in a positive way. Like some people take it, it's just all about the university. Well, it isn't just all about that. It's about the university being one and part of the community, and the community engaging and being it's a two-way street. It's not just a charge, let's go vandals, right? It's
right.
let's do it
No,
together. And
it's so much bigger than that. Again, figuratively. And I had just sent some photos, and I should send them to you too, Ron. Some photos to Murder Sheet, because they were asking, what does it look like there? These are some folks from Indiana. And of course I sent the most beautiful photos we have. If you're in this area in the spring, the Palouse looks like the hills of Ireland. Like, it's just lush and green. Yeah, I mean, why do you think I live here? You know, I grew up in upstate New York, came out here when I was 24, and I've never left. Like, it's a beautiful place. But then the community of Moscow and even Pullman, would it be odd? Oh, we answered the question. No, it's a very, very common, because Pullman is, it's not more urban. I heard someone say that it's not urban. It's a couple of streets. You go down Grand, you go down Main, you've seen the whole place. But
Right.
Moscow is a 4-mile perimeter, and everywhere you go in that town, it feels like there's just something happening. You know, yeah, a high school kid, high school too, but I happen to have a son who does not do anything. No drinking, no drugs. My daughters were a nightmare. That's why I have all this white hair.
look at what happened to me. I only have 2 sons.
Yeah. You look so good bald. I don't think I would look good bald. But
Kidding me? This is a lot to take in right here. Oof.
but anyway, I want to say that the community here, it is vandal centric, but there's plenty of people here that aren't college educated that make their living.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
farmers, contractors, mechanics. I mean, I just can't explain what it's like other than to say it's an amazing place to live. And I think that the reason that the murders shocked everyone so much is because we do live in a place, and I'm not joking, where people do not lock their doors.
Yeah.
Right. So whenever they say, you know, something can't happen here, what really, really pisses me off is watching my town on a Dateline episode. You know, my daughter and I were talking about that. Like, we're on Dateline. This is insane. This doesn't happen here. It shows you it can happen anywhere, and everyone needs to lock your fucking doors. Pardon my French.
Hold on a second. All right, there you go. It's a little too late. Well said.
Sorry,
well
folks.
said, Cindy. Well said. Because I now, because of meeting with you and talking with you, I more so than ever want to come and visit your community. Not because of what happened there, but because of how you speak about it. And I just want to get a feel for it and see it. So I think that I may make that trip, and you won't see any videos or live streams from me while I do that.
Right.
If I do that, I would love to just come there and just get a feel for it for a weekend, and then return home and be able to say, you know what, this is not the place that they made it out to be. And spending a weekend there while college is in session would really give me a great insight to how it is. And you know what? I've been around many, many party towns. I live in New York City. You can go to the Times Square, and you want to see a party, you can see a real big party there. Go there New Year's Eve and check it out. But yeah, so let's say hello to some of the folks in the chat, because everyone's been really, really respectful in the chat. Jersey Devil is here. Allie D, 1996. She just had surgery. She's recovering. Her and her mom are big fans of Crime Time with DutyRon. Hi, Allie. Good to see you and mom. Team Brittany, always hanging out and in the chat. Mickey Morgan, laughing my ass off. Yeah, I guess it was the F-bomb that did it. Canadian Girl is here with us, and I always love her participation in the comments, in the live chat. Have courage, be kind. I guess she's having a bad hair day, so otherwise she would come on. Kristen, thank you for being here, and thank you for being a part of the show and family. Oh, I highlighted the wrong person's name. Have courage and be kind is not Kristen, but good to see you. Thank you for joining. Leah Story, she says, way to go, Allie D. Everybody is just, I really, I'm so proud of this community, and I'll tell you why. Because what we've developed here is people who understand that here on Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, we don't tolerate disrespect to victims and their families. We don't tolerate disrespect amongst each other in the chat. There's so many people that have different thoughts on this this conversation and all of the conversations that we have, but we're able to do it respectfully without putting each other down. When someone is disrespectful or calls someone a name or is derogatory towards a certain group of people or anybody, they're immediately blocked and sent on their way to do that somewhere else, because we do not tolerate jagaloons. So this is a terminology that is just spreading like wildfire in a good way. So
please don't kick me off for using the F word.
No, never going to do it. So here's Cheesy 63 Mary. This channel is pretty good. I never see any hateful comments, even if we disagree on things. Thank you for giving us a pretty good. So is that on a scale of 1 to 10, a 6.5 or a 7? I don't know. What do you think? Canadian gal, before we end,
I was going to say thank you so much for allowing me to come up and speak my view, my opinion about, that I do feel they should demolish the home, and only if, and I do feel like she said in the article that law enforcement went in and they have gotten everything on all evidence they possibly can get out of that home. And since they're now giving it back to the owner, I think it's absolutely think they should demolish it, and probably get an idea of what they're doing up here, which is like, burying it or putting it somewhere in undisclosed location. Because it's
thank you for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you so much, and
All right.
very nice to speak and meet you, Cindy, and have a wonderful Sunday.
Thank you for joining in. It
Thank
really
you.
is nice, and I love your avatar. That's so pretty.
It's pretty.
Thank you so much.
It's beautiful.
Take care now. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Canadian gal. Talk to you soon. All right, so there she goes. So here, this is who I confused. Have courage, be kind with. Where is she? I gotta find her because I was calling her out. There she is. Let's unpack that. I'm surprised that she didn't want. So she's a graduate from WSU, and one of the most beautiful areas in the world. She has told me this because she follows me on all social media, and just like you and I communicate back and forth, I have a great deal of communication with Kristen. She's awesome, and her hubby is fighting cancer, and he's battling for his life. And she was the recipient, actually her son was the recipient of the brand new GoPro from Crime Time with DutyRon for Christmas.
Right on.
A brand new GoPro. And I still have those 4 Ring video doorbells that I want to donate to the University of Idaho.
yeah.
Nobody ever took them. I have them here. They're sitting on my shelf behind me. So
Why don't you just send them, and I can bring them to my friend Jessica. She works at University of Idaho, and she would be able to.
I'll mail them to you.
Yeah.
I'll mail them out to you. And just if you can, when you get together with her, just give her my email to, and I want to make sure it goes to, maybe a sophomore students or some students that could use it and in memory of obviously. And I want to, emphasize Ethan Chapin, Kaylee and Maddie. I wanted this to be, it's about them. This is the conversation that we're having is, about the building and about the, about the property that are being demolished, but we have to keep them in the forefront, because that's really what this, this live stream and all of the streams that I've created, have to do with these young folks. And I'm going to put their pictures and their names up here on the screen with us. Let me just take this scrolling banner off. So it's about these 4, and we need to keep them and their families in our thoughts and prayers always, because, again, they do not have a voice here anymore, and their families are the ones that we have to get around and support, along with the community, the University of Idaho, the law enforcement, and all of the first responders, and the prosecution team, who's now taxed with bringing justice for these people and for the families. So I thank you so much, Cindy. And if you're not yet subscribed, folks, to Crime Time with DutyRon, please consider hitting that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, so you'll get all things DutyRon and Ed Wallace. He's in India right now, and he's traveling home probably in the next, a week or so. We'll have him back on U.S. soil. And when he gets off the plane, he always kisses the ground when he gets off the plane. He tells me that all the time. When I get back into the United States, I get a really great appreciation for all the liberties and freedoms and amenities that we are afforded when he visits countries outside the United States. So that being said, Cindy, I love you. I respect you. Thank you for everything. And I'll get those Ring video doorbells out to you as soon as possible.
I just want to thank everyone for putting up with me because when you said you want to go live, I thought, oh, I know I look like heck because I haven't showered yet.
You look
but I've been filling out. I should probably not say that, but is this members only or is this everyone?
Oh, this is live. This is everywhere.
Okay. Well, I was just working on some stuff in the house, so. But thanks so much for having me on. And I like kind of consider myself what I'd say a cultural correspondent. Anytime someone wants to know what goes on here, I'm happy to say, because as I said, I moved here in 2000. Well, I moved here in 1993 after I got out of the Navy, but I lived in Moscow from 2002 until just last summer.
Wow. Yeah.
And the towns are just 7 miles apart, 5, 6, 7 miles.
I can tell everybody, and Anika's in South Africa, so thank you, Anika.
Oh, hey, Anika.
Yes, always great to have her in the chat. Joey Brooklyn's here. He's a tough guy from Brooklyn. He's one of those wise guys. Hey, oh wait, Joey.
Oh, Brooklyn's in the house.
When you hear Joey Brooklyn, this is what you think of. Pull it over, Joey Brooklyn. Pull it. Yeah, he's got a great YouTube channel. Everyone should follow him because he does a ton of nature and sunsets and sunrises and all different kinds of things. Joey is the reason why I'm here. Joey Brooklyn. I'm going to put him on the screen. I highlight him. Everyone should go over and subscribe to his YouTube channel because he is the reason I'm on YouTube. We were on an outside application called Periscope, which is a Twitter thing, and they went under, and the app closed down. And Joey was like, before this thing goes and closes, let's go over to the big leagues over on YouTube. And I was like, nah, I like it here. I like Periscope. And Joey was like, no, let's go. Come on, DutyRon. I'll be your security director. And so the reason I'm here is because of this guy right here, Joey Brooklyn.
Right
so
on.
Go and follow him and give him a subscription if you can. All right. On behalf of Cindy and the whole community here on Crime Time with DutyRon, we wish you guys a good Sunday. And Cindy, would you come back again sometime soon?
Oh, yes. Just give me an hour notice so I can at least
hair and makeup.
make my hair look nice. I don't wear a lot of makeup, but I've got great hair and it does not look good like this.
Right. Well, I plan to do some members only lives, and it's funny that you just said that. So when I do these members only, then we can really let our hair down, so to speak, and we can give some people an inside look, and I could share some videos and photos and so forth of some of the areas and stuff that you might maybe want. Maybe you could share with me, and I could share with the members. So
I would love that. And everyone who's on here, don't blame Ron because I used the F word. It was my fault. So
just give me a little advance notice so I could go like one time like that. You know what I mean? It's fun. Don't worry about it. We're all adults here, Cindy.
Yes.
No worries. No worries.
Well, I respect the heck out of you, and I just want to. I really thank you, Tracy. I really like to help you out any way that I can. That's why we're doing this.
But you're not just helping me out, you're helping everybody here, the whole community.
Sure.
So that's what's great. You definitely are helping me out, but you're also helping the community understand what goes on in the two neighboring communities, Moscow and Pullman. And it's important. It's an important thing. All right, guys and girls, as I like to always end these things, God bless the world, God bless the United States of America, and God bless each and every one of us here in the chat, but especially these crime victims and their families. We send them strength, prayers, and positive vibes. And if you don't mind, please watch the outro. It's got my dog, Ed Wallace's dog, and my 35-year-old African Gray, which I'm slacking in the area of my Popeye cam because I do have it here. So let me. My second camera shut off. All right, so I can't show you Popeye. All right, so you get to see him on the outro. Cindy, thank you. I'll see you guys soon.
Thanks.
Peace and love from Crime Time with DutyRon. Talk to you guys soon. Thank you. Bye, guys.